fascinating figures sort of series we have here on the channel. Having said that, we have only done, I think, 2 or 3 videos in this sub-series before. We've previously done Einstein and somebody else. I can't even remember because it was literally so long ago. But today, as you can tell by the title, we're going to be taking a look at the life of Pablo Escobar, looking at his life, and then also going through some facts. I'm holding the mic today just so we can get a little bit closer, because usually I have it mounted on a mic stand and I can up the sensitivity, but it still doesn't pick up my voice as well as I would like. So feel free to leave your comments down below for interesting people, past or present, who you would like to see covered on this series and on the channel. So yeah, I reckon without further ado, let's get into the life of Pablo Escobar. So we're going to begin with a sort of biography of sorts, a timeline-ish of the events of Pablo Escobar's life, and then the second part is going to be basically going through some facts about him. There may be some repetitions, but yeah, that's going to be the structure of the video. So we begin with who exactly was Pablo Escobar. Well, Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria was a Colombian drug trafficker who eventually controlled over 80% of the cocaine shipped to the US, earning him the rank of one of Forbes magazine's 10 wealthiest people in the world. Escobar entered the cocaine trade in the early 1970s, collaborating with other criminals to form the Medellin Cartel. He earned popularity by sponsoring charity projects and soccer clubs, but later terror campaigns that resulted in the murder of thousands turned public opinion against him. But we begin with his early life. Escobar was born on December 1st, 1949 in the Colombian city of Rio Negro and Antioquia. Apologies for the pronunciation. His family later moved to the suburb of Envigado. Escobar came from a modest family. His father worked as a peasant farmer, while his mother was a school teacher. From an early age, Escobar packed a unique ambition to raise himself up from his humble beginnings. Escobar reportedly began his life of crime early, stealing tombstones and selling phony diplomas. It wasn't long before he started stealing cars, then moved into the smuggling business. Escobar's early prominence came during the Marlboro Wars, in which he played a high-profile role in the control of Colombia's smuggled cigarette market. This episode proved to be a valuable training ground for the future narcotics kingpin. This next section is titled Escobar's Wife, Son and Daughter. In 1976, Escobar married a 15-year-old Maria Victoria Henao. The couple had 2 children together, a son, Juan Pablo, and a daughter, Manuela. Today, Escobar's son is a motivational speaker who goes by the name of Sebastian Marroquin. Marroquin studied architecture and published a book in 2015, Pablo Escobar, My Father, which tells the story of growing up with the world's most notorious drug kingpin. He also asserts that his father had committed suicide. My father's not a person to be imitated, Marroquin said in an Agence France Press interview. He showed us the path we must never take as a society, because it's the path to self-destruction, the loss of values, and a place where life ceases to have importance. Moving on to taking a closer look at the Medellin Cartel. I apologise for any butchered pronunciations in this video. It wasn't by chance that Colombia came to dominate the cocaine trade. Beginning beginning in the early 1970s, the country became a prime smuggling ground for marijuana. But as the cocaine market flourished, Colombia's geographical location proved to be its biggest asset. Situated at the northern tip of South America between the thriving coca cultivation epicenters of Peru and Bolivia, the country came to dominate the global cocaine trade with the United States, the biggest market for the drug, just a short trip to the north. Escobar moved quickly to grab control of the cocaine trade. In 1975, drug trafficker Fabio Restrepo from the city of Medellin, Colombia, was murdered. His killing, it's believed, came at the orders of Escobar, who immediately seized power and expanded Restrepo's operation into something the world had never seen. Under Escobar's leadership, large amounts of coca paste were purchased in Bolivia and Peru, processed and transported to America. Escobar worked with a small group to form the infamous Medellin Cartel. By the mid-1980s, Escobar had an estimated net worth of $30 billion and was named one of the 10 richest people on Earth by Forbes magazine. Cash was so prevalent that Escobar purchased a Learjet for the sole purpose of flying his money. At the time, Escobar controlled more than 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the United States. More than 15 tons were reportedly smuggled each day, netting the Medellin Cartel as much as $420 million a week. As Escobar's fortune and fame grew, he dreamed to be seen as a leader. In some ways, he positioned himself as a Robin Hood-like figure, which was echoed by many locals as he spent money to expand social programs for the poor. And I did not know that. That's very interesting. The next section, a short section, is titled Escobar's Short-Lived Stint in Politics. So, as a young man, Escobar told friends and family that he wanted to become the president of Colombia. Yet, as he saw it, his path to wealth and legitimacy lay in crime. In 1982, Escobar was elected as an alternate member of Colombia's Congress, but the reasons for his wealth could not stay hidden, and 2 years after his election he was forced to resign. The Justice Minister who revealed Escobar's notorious background was later slain. Oh gosh. Right, moving into a lovely topic. How many people did Pablo Escobar kill? A lovely ASMR-friendly topic. Escobar was responsible for the killing of thousands of people, including politicians, civil servants, journalists, and ordinary citizens. When he realised that he had no shot of becoming Colombia's president, and with the United States pushing for his capture and extradition, Escobar unleashed his fury on his enemies in the hopes of influencing Colombian politics. His goal was a no-extradition clause and amnesty for drug barons in exchange for giving up the trade. Escobar's terror campaign claimed the lives of 3 Colombian presidential candidates, an attorney general, scores of judges, and more than 1,000 police officers. In addition, Escobar was implicated as the mastermind behind the bombing of a Colombian jetliner in 1989 that killed more than 100 people. Escobar's terror eventually turned public opinion against him and caused a breakup of the alliance of drug traffickers. So, although he was in the crime business and whatnot, he sounded like a pretty decent guy in, spending a lot of his money on the poor and programs for the poor, but it sounds like the fact he couldn't become president made him snap a wee bit, so next section is called Prison, La Cathedral. In June 1991, Escobar surrendered to the Colombian government of President Cesar Gaviria. In return, the threat of extradition was lifted and Escobar was allowed to build his own luxury prison called La Cathedral, which was guarded by men he handpicked from among his employees. Seems legit. The prison lived up to its name and came complete with a casino, spa and nightclub. What on earth? In June 1992, however, Escobar escaped when authorities attempted to move him to a more standard holding facility. A manhunt for the drug lord was launched that would last 16 months. During that time, the monopoly of the Medellin Cartel, which had begun to crumble during Escobar's imprisonment as police raided offices and killed its leaders, rapidly deteriorated. And then we move on to death. Escobar's family unsuccessfully sought asylum in Germany and eventually found refuge in a Bogota hotel. Escobar himself was not so lucky. Colombian law enforcement finally caught up to the fugitive Escobar on December the 2nd, 1993, in a middle-class neighbourhood in Medellin. A firefight ensued across a series of rooftops, and he and his bodyguard were shot and killed. Escobar's death accelerated the demise of the Medellin Cartel and Colombia's central role in the cocaine trade. His end was celebrated by the country's government and other parts of the world. His family was placed under police protection. Still, many Colombians mourned his killing. More than 25,000 people turned out for Escobar's burial. Well, he built houses and cared about the poor. One funeral goer stated at Escobar's funeral in a story reported by the New York Times, "In the future, people will go to his tomb to pray the way they would to a saint." El Patron del Mal. Escobar was the subject of a popular 2012 Colombian television miniseries called El Patron del Mal. The program was produced by Camilo Cano and Juana Uribe, both of whom had family members who were murdered by Escobar or his assistants. And then, of course, we have Narcos, the very popular Netflix series. Assisting in the manhunt for Escobar were two American drug enforcement agents, Steve Murphy and Javier Peña, both of whom had been working the Escobar case for years. Their story formed part of the backbone of the 2015 Netflix series Narcos, which I've never watched. Let me know in the comments down below if you have watched it, because I haven't. I feel like I should. And in 2016, Escobar's brother Roberto announced he was prepared to sue Netflix for $1 billion for its misportrayal of their family in the series. Interesting. So that brings to a close the sort of timeline. You get sort of a sense of who he was, what he did, the sort of arguments for and against whether he was a good person. I mean, ultimately he came from humble beginnings, so wanted to help people the same as him, but you can't really defend the amount of people he killed or had killed, so obviously a very dangerous person, but I guess you could say had good aspects of his art. But the video is not done there. Here I have an article titled 29 Absolutely Ridiculous Facts About Pablo Escobar, history's most infamous drug kingpin. So we're going to rattle through these and hopefully there's some more interesting information about Pablo Escobar. So we begin with fact number one. At his extravagant estate in Puerto Triunfo, Escobar also built a private zoo filled with hippos, giraffes, elephants and other animals. Hippos still roam the grounds today. As you would, you got to spend your money somehow, haven't you? Escobar was responsible for killing about 4,000 people, including an estimated 200 judges, 1,000 police workers, journalists, and government officials. In the 1980s, Escobar's Medellin Cartel was responsible for 80% of the cocaine that was sent to the United States. I think we already spoke about that one a little bit. Before getting into the drug trade, Escobar sold stolen tombstones and to smugglers, and was also into the business of stealing cars. Again, I said there might be some repetitions because they're from different sites. Pablo Escobar was born in Rio Negro, Colombia in 1949. His father a farmer and his mother a school teacher. Again, sounds familiar. Pablo Escobar married Maria Vallejo, who was then just 15. We knew that, but at the time, Pablo Escobar was 27. Now, the original article left that out. So that's just, your standard 12-year age gap. Totally normal, a 27-year-old man marrying a 15-year-old. Interesting, let's move on. While the Escobar family was hiding, Pablo's daughter Manuela got sick. To keep her warm, Escobar burned about $2 million. If that's true, that is incredible. It reminds me of the scene in The Dark Knight. Escobar is said to have smuggled cocaine into plane tyres. Depending on how much product pilots flew, they could earn as much as $500,000 per day. That would be cool. I wonder if the pilots for Escobar are in prison or where they are now. In an attempt to change the laws of extradition, Escobar offered to pay Colombia's debt an estimated $10 billion. What a guy. I mean, it's obviously for his own selfish means, so I don't mean that. Escobar spent around $2,500 a month on rubber bands, used for the sole purpose of holding his money. That's a pretty crazy fact, actually. Escobar's earnings peaked at an estimated $30 billion. And Escobar made the Forbes billionaires list of the world's richest people 7 years in a row, beginning in 1987 and peaked at number 7 in 1989. In the late 1980s, Colombian authorities seized some of Escobar's enormous fleet, including 142 planes, 20 helicopters, 32 yachts, and 141 homes and offices. He loves splashing his cash, evidently. Escobar's business was so big and so scrutinised that in addition to planes, helicopters, cars, trucks and boats, he even bought 2 submarines for transporting his cocaine into the US. I mean, that's a lot of effort, isn't it? You gotta respect the hustle. At the height of the drug trade, Escobar smuggled up to 15 tons of cocaine in each day. Pablo Escobar's support of the bomb earned him the nickname Robin Hood. Other popular nicknames for Escobar were Don Pablo and El Patron. Among the possessions that authorities found in Escobar's home was a Spanish translation of the self-help classic The Power of Positive Thinking. Nice. About 10% of Escobar's earnings were lost to spoilage. Rats likely consumed a bulk of those bills. Escobar's luxury prison was referred to as La Cathedral, aka the Cathedral. We knew that already. And it housed a casino, nightclub and a spa, and we knew that already as well. Following his death, Escobar's lavish Colombian estate was transformed into a theme park featuring animals, life-size dinosaur models, Escobar's collection of classic cars, and more. Yeah, the dinosaurs thing is what he would have wanted, right? Pablo loved dinosaurs, didn't he? Pablo Escobar's greatest fear was extradition. No matter what happened, he didn't want to spend his final years in an American jail cell. And despite his horrific business dealings, Escobar did find a number of programs to help Colombia's poor residents. He gave money to churches and hospitals, established food programs, built parks and football stadiums, and created a barrio. Well, Escobar used his extraordinary wealth and popularity to get himself elected to Colombia's Congress. We knew that one as well. The biggest single cocaine shipment Escobar ever made was to the United States, and it weighed a whopping 51,000 pounds. Wow. And Pablo Escobar was gunned down at the age of 44. Some people speculate that the wound was self-inflicted. Interesting. And there we go. That concludes. Some of them were repeats, of course, but that concludes the facts about Pablo Escobar. So I really hope you did enjoy this video. I, for one, did know quite a few things that we read through, so hopefully you found it informative, but more importantly, of course, relaxing. If you did enjoy this video and you could like the video, that would be amazing. And if you're new, consider subscribing. Linked in the description will be the sort of main playlist for the main series we do here on the channel, so check them out. If this video interested you, there are probably some more videos for you as well. But yeah guys, I will see you next Monday for a new ASMR video, of course, and